So if we can play that next bit, because we got to characterize, so we need to call people out. Well, here's somebody. This woman, Victoria Nuland, shows up everywhere. Here she goes. We're going to listen to her for a while.
Ranking Member Cardin, members of this committee, your bipartisan support, your visits to Ukraine, the assistance you have provided have been absolutely essential to the American goal of supporting Ukraine's democratic European future. Before I begin today, let's just take a moment, if we may, to honor the sacrifice of Ukrainian pilot and RADA deputy Nadia Savchenko, who was seized in Ukraine in 2014, dragged across the Russian border, and unjustly held and tried in Russia. Today, her hunger strike continues as the court in Rostov again delays an announcement of its verdict. Nadia's
Can you stop it there for a second, please? So this is a very standard thing. We're going to tell the story of one unfortunate person. We're all going to feel terrible about this person. This is an appeal to our emotions. Let's blind our reason with an emotional outburst of anger over this unjust imprisonment of some person that nobody remembers her name. It's just a prop in Victoria Nuland's play that she's about to run here with the Congress, which, this woman's been around a long time. This is a long time ago. We're going to watch her as she goes through. She's kind of our government's expert on fucking up this part of the world. You're looking at the person who is she's the front woman of the New World Order's attempts to intervene into this area. Continue, please.
Reminder of the pressures Ukraine continues to face, even as it works to build a stronger, more resilient country for its citizens. I want to thank this committee for its continued focus on Nadia Savchenko and all Ukraine's hostages, and for the passage of Senate Resolution 52. We call on Russia to release her immediately and return her to Ukraine and to her family before it's too late. Like Nadia, all across Ukraine, citizens are standing up and sacrificing for the universal values that bind us as a transatlantic community.
Oh, stop.
For sovereignty.
There it is, the transatlantic community. Okay, now everybody needs to figure this one out. I'm from the Ukraine. I have no interest in it personally. I live in Minnesota. They're over there messing around in Ukraine. We're the transatlantic community. We're going to be covering this a lot. Why do we have a transatlantic community? We fought a war in 1776 to divorce ourselves from that transatlantic community. And why did we do it? Because of their business model. Drugs, slavery, piracy. We had a moment of sanity here in the United States of America in 1776 where we said, no, 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 no. We don't want that business model of the empire. We want the business model of we the people, the business model of well-being, as we were talking about the preamble to our Constitution, for domestic tranquility, which means peace, to promote the general welfare, which is well-being, the relationship of man and nature. These people had a completely different organization in how they wanted to do things. So this woman, Victoria Nuland, went to Brown University, East Coast, educated in this kind of transatlantic academic tradition, which is permeated and shot through from A to Z with Marxism. She is talking about our transatlantic community. Well, it's her transatlantic community, and I don't want to do any more business with her. She can go off and do her thing. I want to go off and do my thing. My rights are protected. My minority rights are protected by the Constitution of the United States. I don't want anything to do with this, and I hope every one of you listening and watching will realize we don't have to support this scam about the transatlantic community. Our entire political history is about getting divorced from these people because they are insane. They are unwell, and the evidence of their unwellness is we're on the brink of nuclear war. That would be like, okay, I'm looking at your chart. Yes, you're going to die. These people are sick. So let's move along, listen to her a little bit more, and then we're going to see her some other contexts. Please.
For territorial integrity, for human rights and dignity, for clean and accountable government, and for justice for all.
Well, stop again, please. Stop again. Justice for all. See, now she's using our fundamental American values to talk about the Ukraine, which is currently a dictatorship with one-party rule, no freedom of the press, no freedom to assemble. This place is as far from our American ideals and our American values as you can get. It's the anti-American expression. Please continue.
By Ukraine, as Russia has sought to stymie its democratic rebirth at every turn.
Stop again.
Today, however, as
We're going to be talking about here very shortly the Maidan Revolution, of which this woman was up to her eyeballs in it. There was a duly elected government there. It was pro-Russian, and the United States government under Barack Obama spent the money to destabilize that government. Of course, this is my version of the history. There's many versions of this history. They're all true. What version do you want to look at? But again, when we get to the end, this is going to get very simple. Yes, there's two competing stories. There's the Victoria Nuland story that the Soviet Union, now Russia, was intervening into the Ukrainian politics. Obviously, it was true. I'm not a Putin apologist, and I'm not on Putin's side. These people have been batting around the Ukrainian people like a pinball, okay? There's two flippers, the West and the Russians. And the Ukrainian people, they're getting banged around in there, and they're getting destroyed. Millions of them. My family killed. Over half my family killed there brutally in my mind. So I can't sleep at night because I got those stories when I was 3, 4, 5, 6 years old because my grandfather and my father were trying to detox from the horrible stories that they had heard. It reminds me of the Native American tradition, the genocide against the Native Americans, how that is reverberated through the Native American history. When you perpetrate genocide, you fuck people up for generations. And that's what's gone on in our country with the Native American community, with the black community, and the Ukrainian. These people are screwed up. They are willing to die because they've been getting killed and run over the top of for so many decades, centuries. Hey, when you got nothing to lose. Let's go on a little bit more.
Its democratic rebirth at every turn. Today, however, as you both mentioned, Ukraine's European future is put at risk as much by...
Who is she to say that the Ukrainians want a European future? Where's the data? I want to see the polling data. I want to see the vote that the Ukrainian people want to be European. Because guess what? There's a lot of people that don't like the postmodern values of the European Union. Let's think about what they are in an upcoming podcast. But these are anti-faith values, anti-God values, values that don't strengthen families, that weaken families, that tear parents from children and tear people away from the land and people away from any kind of spiritual insight or connection. It's a very unwell anti-well-being philosophy. So not everybody wants to be in on that. Some people want a well-being philosophy. Please continue.
Enemies within as by external forces. The oligarchs and kleptocrats who controlled Ukraine for decades...
Oh, stop again. I can't take it. Oligarchs and kleptocrats. You know, this really pisses me off. Our country, the United States of America, the wealth disparity in our country is every bit as extreme as the Ukrainian polity is experiencing. We have the concentration of wealth in this country, and the progressive, they call it the progressive movement for a reason, the progressive impoverishment of the American people. Right now, the ravages of inflation. That is a tax taking away our net worth. The concentration of wealth in the hands of very few Americans, less than 1%. We know their names. That's for another podcast. We don't call them oligarchs here. We worship them. This is goofy. Please continue.
Their business model will be broken.
Oh, stop again. Their business model. What about our business model? Drugs. We got a country overridden by drugs, legal and illegal. We have piracy, which is inflation. right? We have wage slavery. We're working our asses off just to eat. Let's go on while she criticizes. You know, Christ said, pick out the log in your own eye before you start pointing out the cinder in somebody else's. Let's work on our own country's problems, Miss Honorable Victoria Nuland. Please continue.
Reformers succeed in 2016. So they're fighting back with a vengeance, using all the levers of the old system, their control of the media, state-owned enterprises, RADA deputies, the courts, and the political machinery, while holding old loyalties and threats over the heads of decision makers to block change. Against this backdrop, Ukraine's own leaders have been locked for months in a cycle of political infighting and indecision about how to restore unity, trust, and effectiveness.
Stop again. Good governance moves slowly. Our country has been stuck with the same wedges since 1973. Democracy is messy. Things don't change quickly. Things change very slowly. When you start talking about accelerating change, guess what you're talking about? Dictatorship. Please continue.
Coalition and how to reboot the government and its program.
Oh, stop again. She wants to reboot the government. In other words, we're going to close the machine down. Oh, please step down, Miss Nuland. We've heard everything we need to hear from you. They want to reboot the government. Okay, here, right here. Go to Wikipedia. This thing burnt my printer out all the times our government, and we remember now, I want to get nice, the Atlantic Charter, beautiful sentiment, the right of people to determine their own political future. Sounded great. It is beautiful. It happens to be an ideal we want to work towards, like Star Trek. Star Trek, we even had it in the 1960 series Star Trek. Don't intervene into other people's things because it's their business. My name is Paul, and it's between you all. Look at all this. So there she said they're going to reboot the Ukrainian government, and they did.